What's up, YouTube? To celebrate the success of my recent video showing my collection of Xbox 360 games, I thought I'd do a similar style of video, but instead I decided to focus on my Sega collection. So I don't have as many games for Sega as I do for the Xbox, but since then I'm going to feature my entire collection across all generations of Sega consoles. So my first Sega console was the handheld. I started with the Game Gear, and then I got the other consoles later. The first console I got on launch was Sega console was the Dreamcast. I got my first. Bear in mind, I started on a computer at the on a BBC Beat, and going through to an Amiga 500, and then moving up. So my first console was the SNES. The first Sega console I technically got was the Dreamcast. I did get the other consoles, but a lot later. I also have Master System. I have a Mega Drive, and I some Mega CD. Yeah, I don't own a Mega CD. I also have Sega Saturn, and that. So I'm just going to go through them in order. I'll start with the Dreamcast though, because it's my probably one of my favourites of the Sega systems, since I have most memories of it, and I got one on launch day. So I'll just go through them and start with the games. So we're starting with the survival horror games. So we've got, to start with, we have Resident Evil Code Veronica. This is one of the first game. Well, it's not technically the first one I played, but it was like, I thought it was the first one that had semi-decent controls, and it didn't feel like it was more on the tank controls. It plays reasonably well. I say it's one of the better games in the series. It's also been remade. You can also get it, I believe there's a PlayStation, like Resident Evil Code Veronica X, I believe it is. And that also plays well. It's good fun. Right, so the next survival horror game we have is Blue Stinger. So this is like a format exclusive. It's like a Resident Evil kind of game. It doesn't play nearly as well as that, and I don't believe I finished it. So that's Blue Stinger. Now we go on to the racing games. So one of my favourite categories of games. There's quite a lot of racing games on the thing. So this is Trick Style. I believe I had was one of the launch games for the Dreamcast, along with Sonic Adventure and that, and I remember getting that on release with my machine. Although this isn't the original copy. So this is basically like a hoverboard racing game. So it's like it's kind of similar in style to things like, say, Wipeout and that, in its futuristic setting, but you're on like a hoverboard and you can perform tricks. So it's more like a cross between, let's say, Wipeout and say Tony Hawk. That's also, it's the only one in the series. And we go on, so we've got Metropolis Street Racer. So this is a good racing game. It's a semi-realistic. It's similar to like a Gran Turismo kind of style of game. It's got like modern cars and courses. It's similar to those two. Then we go on to more iconic games. So this is Crazy Taxis. So everyone should play this. It's really good. It's really iconic. So you basically, if you don't know what Crazy Taxi is about, is you play a cab driver and you basically have to pick up various fares on the way, and you basically have to pick up people and drive to their destination, but you get ranked on how quickly you do it and based on your time, and you can take various shortcuts. And that this is the first game in the series. They only were 3 games in the series released, with 2 of them being on the Dreamcast. The soundtrack is really good. In addition, there's like a skate punk kind of style of soundtrack. So you've got stuff like Offspring and Bad Religion on it, which is like most of the games don't. Most of the ports of this don't replicate the soundtrack, as the soundtrack the license has run out. They also license various outlets, like there's like the KFC in this in the original, and like Tower Records, for instance. Anyway, that's the first game in the series. Still really good fun. You can pick it up on a compilation, but it probably doesn't have the licenses on it. Then we move on to the sequel, Crazy Taxi 2. So this one is like the original. It's not much difference, other than there's another 2 cities. And it's similar in style, all really good fun. I'd recommend Crazy Taxi. Fairly cheap as well to find. Then we've got a 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker. So this is similar in style to like Crazy Taxi, in which you have to race to a finish and a thing. But in this, instead of like a car, you play as a big wheeled style rigger truck, which is like, it doesn't feel as good as Crazy Taxi because the trucks it's meant to try and replicate control slower and a lot slower, so it doesn't play as fluidly as that game. It's nowhere near as good as Crazy Taxi, but it's still fun. It's worth getting. Then we have Daytona USA. I like most of the Daytona games. I've got all of them. This is a good arcade style racing game. It's not much difference to the other ones in the series, other than it looks better, and I believe there's a lot more courses on it. So that's Daytona 2001. Then there's more realistic racing style games. So you've got F35 Premier Rizos. So this was based on a Sega arcade game, which basically, when it came out, it had like a massive style cabinet. I believe it had multiple monitors on it, and this is the way to replicate it on the home. This is like the home version. I would say, is one of the most hard racing games to control. The system I'm more used to the arcade-based style racing games. So F35 is good if you're looking for a more realistic racing game, and it has a challenge. It's trying to drive the Ferrari around the course is like trying to handle the real thing, I would assume. Then we go on to more racing games. So we've got Sega Rally Championship. So this is Sega Rally 2 effectively on the Dreamcast. So this is like the original. It still plays really well. It's got a big selection of courses and that, and it's probably one of the better games in the series. Then we've got slightly more obscure, so we've got Toy Racer. So there's another game on the Dreamcast called Toy Command, and this is a spin-off from that game. It's more like a Micro Machines kind of style game with the things from Toy Command doing it. Anyway, that's good as well. And move on to the more party style games. We have Worms World Party. So this is basically just Worms on the Dreamcast. It's good fun. It's a selection of modes. I'm sure you can get this on most ports of this, but this is Worms on the Dreamcast. You used to be able to play it online back in the days as well, and supposedly now you can still even play with if you get a special piece of hardware. And there's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It said this is based on the quiz program. So it started as a UK program and it branched out into various other regions. It's good fun. I don't think it's as good fun as the quiz machine though, because there was a quiz machine which is you could find in various like pubs and stuff in the UK back in the days, and you used to be able to win actual money on it. It's Chris Tarrant pictured on the back of the box. Sorry, that's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And we've got various puzzle games. So we've got Bust a Move. This is ubiquitous. Bust a Move's on nearly everything, or Puzzle Bobble, depending on what region you're in. You have to match the coloured bobbles in time with the thing. So it's even on the Neo Geo back in the day. So that's Bust a Move 4. Then we've got Choo Rocket. So this was one of the first games on the Dreamcast to support online play. And basically, I believe the people that bought I got for free, but I remember I bought my Dreamcast on launch, and then they reduced it within like a month or so of it coming out, and everyone that basically got disappointed and complained, so they basically gave them this game for free. Basically, you basically have to guide the mice to the hole in real time. It's different to anything else. It's not really like another puzzle game anyway. It's unique to the Dreamcast. That's Choo Rocket. Then we've got Mr. Driller. So this has been released on many things as well, going from the like DS and like even the Switch. I believe there's a more recent one. So this is like a timed puzzle game. It's more frantic than certain things, as you have to do it in real time, and there's basically a time limit, because if you're you're trying to drill to the bottom of the thing by lining up various colours, but you basically have a limited supply of air, so which you have to either replenish en route. So that's Mr. Driller. That's a good game. Then we've got, whether I define it as a racing game or not, I've got it anyway. So it's Jet Set Radio. So this is like one of only 2 games in the series. Again, this has a really good license soundtrack. There's various different artists on it. And so most of the games now wouldn't be able to replicate the soundtrack because it's a lot of the licenses. So it's basically plays like it's something like a cross between a Tony Hawk game, where you're trying to do various stunts and that and graffiti in like real time and try to dodge the police and various things. So that's Jet Set Radio. There's another game on the Xbox as well, which is Jet Set Radio Future. That's also a very good game. This is good. Then we go on to it's mainly platform games. So we've got Sonic Adventure, the first one. So this was the first of like the series of like the 3D kind of Sonic games. It was the first one to feature it. I also remember playing this on the internet back in the day. I remember doing a score attack based on like the first. I'm going to say the first level. I remember getting to around. It was like 15th in world or something. Some period. Anyway, that's Sonic Adventure. It also doesn't only feature Sonic, it has other characters in it as well, such as Big the Cat, which has like a fishing level and stuff. So it's also got other stuff, and you also, so on the Dreamcast you had a little memory card which was called a VMU, which was also, you were able to play games on it and you were able to do various different things with it. So this was compatible with the VMU. And you were able to raise the little creatures, they're called chows, I believe, back in the day. And that was one of the first things you could do on the VMU other than save your game. You could play a little mini game. Then we have... just dropped a poll. Anyway, so Sonic Adventure 2, which is the sequel. I believe it might have been the first game to feature Shadow the Hedgehog as well. Also has Tails, Knuckles, and like Rogue the Bat and stuff. So it's like the other one in the series. I'm not a huge fan of the treasure hunting levels in the game, though. This was also ported to the GameCube as well, but I believe that version might even be more expensive, and I believe there's also a limited edition of this one. I'm going to say all my Dreamcast games are EU ones, though I don't believe I have any imports. I want to get into the import games, but I haven't got around to it at the moment, and I'd probably need another machine or modded. Then we have MDK2. Can't really say much about that, other than it's a sticker saying support DC UK on the front, which I remember buying back in the day. I think I've got a complete set of the official Dreamcast magazine, the UK-based one anyway. Right, we'll move on to beat-em-ups. So we've got Capcom vs Sync. So that was the crossover game between Capcom and SNK. So it's got all the characters. It's got lots of characters from both properties. So this was basically the Capcom produced game, whereas there was meant to be another one which made by the opposite company. So there meant to be an SNK one which didn't come out. Then we go to Psychic Force 2012. So this is the sequel to Psychic Force, which was a PS1 game. So this is like a fighting game. The difference is these characters are like psychic. So these characters, basically, you're in an arena and you can basically fly around. So it feels more like a flight game of some sorts, but that you do various projectile attacks and various close-based attacks. So that's Psychic Force 2012. And we got Soul Calibur. So this was the first game in the series that I played. There was also Soul Blade on the PlayStation, but this was the first game I played in the series, and it carries on to the day. So this was before they got the licensed characters from other more recent games in the series. I remember running a tournament for this back at school. I was the cheesy one. I was the Keelik player, so I also used to use that, and it was quite on the cheesy side. Anyway, so that's Soul Calibur. And we got Power Stone. That's the second game in the series. This was also available as a double pack with the original on the PSP, I believe. I don't have the original anymore. Unfortunately, I sold it, and so I regret it. So I'll probably pick it back up at some point. I said this one I feel is more chaotic. It's more like a Smash Brothers kind of style game. You're in an open arena. This one does you can play with up to 4 people on this version, because the Dreamcast also had 4 ports on it, so you could play multiple player games. It was one of the more consoles to support that as well. Yeah, so I found this one version is more chaotic than the original. The original capped you at 2 players, And so it's basically just like, it's a bit like a Smash Brothers game. It's an open world game. You can pick up various weapons. It's good fun in multiplayer. It's a good game. I mean, say you might be, you probably are better getting it on this, because I would feel you'd be better playing it on the Dreamcast rather than the PSP. But I think this version is probably more expensive. And then we have Street Fighter Alpha 3. I believe that was also the first game I played in the Alpha series. I remember getting this on launch when it came out. So this is Street Fighter Alpha 3. Probably the best game in the series of the Alpha series. There's only 3 games anyway, so this one has all the characters. It's like something like 30 plus characters. It has like a world tour mode where you go all around trying to fight various people with like Akuma and that at the end. There's also like dramatic battle and stuff, which is like a handicap style mode. Yeah, so that's Street Fighter Alpha 3, still really good. Right, now we're going to move on to the RPGs. I need to say some of my favourites. So that's Shenmue. That's the original Shenmue. So this was a multi-disc game. This was also, it's like on, I think it's 4 discs and 3 discs of the game, and then there's like a separate disc. So this unfortunately doesn't have the outer case. I remember buying this back in the day when it came out. I basically got it, completed it in the guarantee, then I returned it, and got this one later when I found another copy. So this is Shenmue 1. It starts the story of Ryu Hazuki. It's like one of the most expensive games of its time. It cost Sega a lot of money, and I don't think they made most of it back. Anyways, this is Shenmue Part 1. Well worth playing if you want. Unfortunately, there's some problems with it. It's a bit on the clunky side. And so, like, it depends how much of a fan you are of QTE events, because unfortunately there's quite a few of them in this game. You can also you go to the arcade in the game and you can play various Sega-based games. So there's stuff like Outrun and Hang On in the arcade if you go on this, and you can lose quite a lot of time to it. I've also played the most recent one. I haven't got around to finish it. I think it's still quite good. I quite enjoy it. It's a slower paced game though. It's not as fast as some of the RPGs. That's Shenmue 2, that's the sequel that carries on the story of the first one. And you say if you want to play the games, I recommend playing them in order, because I say there is a story that carries on. I mean, to be honest, between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3, there was a huge gap in terms of how long the game took to come out. This went through, like, say, I think it was around 3 gens of hardware between the Dreamcast and the, would it come out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox? Yeah, so that's Shenmue 2. And we've got Time Stalkers. So this is another RPG. I don't think it's anything special. It's not one of my favourite games. There's like not a lot to say about that. Then we've got Phantasy Star Online. So I remember playing this on the online back in the day. What did I play as? I think it was a hunt. No, it was a ranger I played at. So I played as a ranger. They say this is quite fun online. So I remember back in the day, but it used to be a dial-up connection. So it used to take ages, and you used to have to in the UK you used to have to pay by the minute. So it was very expensive to play. Anyway, that's Phantasy Star. So I remember playing this. I have quite good memories of it. They also carried on. There's also I believe there's a second version, which is Phantasy Star Online 2 or something. And I believe there's a double pack on the original Xbox that also has like 1 and 2 on it. The servers are, apparently you can still play them if you have another piece of hardware, but I'm not sure about that at the moment. Then there's Skies of Arcadia. So this is the original Skies of Arcadia. So this is an interesting RPG. This is like a kind of like, it's kind of like a fantasy setting, but in with pirates. But these pirates aren't the regular land-based pirates. These are sky pirates. So they've got flying ships in it. It's also, this game is good. This is also available on the GameCube as Skies of Arcadia Legends, I believe, which is more like a update of this game with some additional content in it. But this is the original Skies of Arcadia. I'd recommend that game. It's solid. And we got the last RPG, which is also a sequel. So that's Grandia 2. So this is the second game in the Grandia series. There weren't a huge amount of time. The first one came out on the PS1. There may be other games as well. I only played these two. So that's Grandia 2. Also, that game is pretty good. It's Game Arts. They know what they're doing with their RPGs. Right, we'll move on to my the favourites, the shmups. So that's Geigerwing. I already featured that in an earlier video. I remember picking that up. I got that the same day I got Resident Evil Veronica. I believe I got them both in the same shop. So this one's expensive now. It's getting around, it's about 75, I believe. So this is the first game in the Geigerwing series. There's also a Geigerwing 2, which is also available on the Dreamcast, but didn't come out in Europe. And there's also Geigerwing Generations that came out on the PlayStation 2, I believe. So this is Geigerwing. So this is like a standard shmup. The difference being this is the reflect force mechanic. So in this game, instead of there's a lot of bullets on the screen, but you can hold down the fire button when your meter's fully charged to reflect all the bullets on the screen back at the enemies. And that's the main mechanic in this game. And that's also one of the best shmups, I believe. There's Geigerwing. Then we go on to more games, so more shooters. So we've got Bang.io. So this is a game by Treasure. You would say any game by Treasure is above average, and is like they've also done other various great games such as Radiant Silvergun and Silhouette Mirage. So this is Bang.io. This is the Dreamcast version of Bang.io. It's a cross between like a shooting game and it's got some puzzle aspects in it, because you've got various blocks in the levels and you have to work out how to knock them down and get through various bits in the kind of time kind of constraint. Anyway, so that's also available. I believe you can also get Bang.io. There's also a DS version, but it's the sequel. And there's also an N64 version. I haven't played the N64 version. I feel it might be more expensive than this version, but like, it's a good game. And I've got Charge and Blast. This is kind of more like a run and gun style shooter. I don't remember playing it much. Anyway, so that's Charge and Blast. Then we go on to the sport. Well, they're like sports games. So this is Sega Bass Fishing, or Get Bass as it's called in other territories. So this, I've got the edition with the rod. So this is like a fishing game, but other than you got most fishing games, you don't have a controller. So this one, you've got a rod controller. I've got the box edition with the rod controller, but it's not here. Also, the sequel is called Sega Marine Fishing, which is also available. Wasn't released in Europe though, so I don't have it. And we go on to Tee Off. So this is a golf game. So I like my video game golf adaptions. So this is similar to what I'd imagine, say like Hot Shots Golf or something on the Sony, on the Dreamcast. So it's like a fun cartoony golf or game, or it's maybe a bit like Mario Golf as well. Yeah. And we've got like Virtuous Striker. So it's an arcade style football game. Nothing special. It's probably okay at the time. It was probably quite average. Then we've got more games. This is the Virtuous series. So this is Virtua Athlete 2K. So this is kind of like a track and field style game. There'll be some more games in this series probably later. All right, that's Virtua Athlete. We go Virtua Tennis. So this was the first Virtua tennis game I remember playing, to be honest. I mean, say this one it's still good fun. There was also the sequel released on the Dreamcast, but I don't have that version. I mean, technically the original video game tennis adaptation was Pong, but like I'm not old enough to remember playing that when it came out. Anyway, that's Virtua Tennis. And we move on to boxing. I've put them in the sports games this time. So this is Ready to Rumble Boxing. So this is a fun boxing game adaptation. So they're not any technically Michael Jackson's in it as well. So they are some real game people, but they're not actual boxers. So it's a cartoon based boxing game. So it's got an arcade style. You're basically trying to build up your charge bar. The moves are nice and easy to perform, and it's quite good fun. I was also released on something else as well, so there's another chance you can get it on something else, and that's Ready to Rumble Boxing. And we're about to see the sequel. So it's Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. Also like the original, but it's got a bigger roster, and that I think it's improved most in most aspects. And we're on to the last game now. For the Dreamcast anyway. So we've got Planet Ring. So this was like an online style game. It was like a party game with many multiplayer games. I believe it was given away. I think it was given away with the, I believe with the official Dreamcast magazine. Anyway, whether you can play it now or not, I don't think so. But that's Planet Ring. Right, what console should we do next? I'll probably do the Game Gear. Okay, so the Game Gear, I basically got the Game Gear was my first handheld. I then so I got my Game Gear. It was close to when it came out. I mean, I got a Game Boy in that later. So the main problems with the Game Gear is the battery life. The battery, it used to take 6 AA batteries. These 6 batteries used to last about an hour. So compared to what the Game Boy managed, which was a long time, the Game Gear had a very, very short battery life. The screen quality was relatively good. Other than now, they suffer from the fact that sometimes the capacitors on the Game Gear on the motherboard go, and they develop a lot of screen problems. So if you're looking at one now, sometimes the capacitors will have gone on the motherboard, so you may have to look into replacing the screen. Anyway, I've got an original Game Gear. It's in the box. Unfortunately, I think the capacitors have gone, so I haven't played it for a while. Anyway, we'll start with the games. So this is Terminator. So this is basically, I believe these games are similar to the Master System version, which I'll go into the Master System game shortly. So this is Terminator, so I believe it's also similar to that one. It plays reasonably well. It's like an adaptation of, I believe it might be the first film. And yes, so that's Terminator. Let me go. NBA Jam. So I obviously got this one later towards the end. The other one I had from new, I'm sure. So this is NBA Jam. I'm sure everyone knows NBA Jam. So it's a fun basketball game. You basically build up your super meter and you basically get on fire and you start shoot the hoops. Anyway, so it's one of the NBA Jam. Then we got Alien 3. So this is Alien 3. So this is, I believe, is also an adaptation of the Master System game. I believe the game on the Mega Drive is a completely different game. So this is, so a lot of mine have a Virgin tag on. So they obviously came from Virgin back in the days, which was a UK store. As Alien 3. I also think this game, Alien and Terminator, are on the harder side of the games, but I remember them being quite difficult for what they are. Then there's Prince of Persia. So this is a conversion of the original Prince of Persia from like the PC and that. I remember playing Prince of Persia at a game day at my school on I think it was an Acorn Archimedes back in the days. So this is Prince of Persia, the original one. Then we've got slightly more interesting game. So we've got Crystal Warriors. So this is like a very early kind of like tactical RPG. I remember my parents, I think, got this for me for like a random present from like my birthday or something. It's got a Toys R Us tag on the back. Yeah, so this is more like a tactical RPG now. I would describe it as similar to, say, Final Fantasy Tactics or, say, Shining Force game. So this was really good on the Game Gear, but it's like one of the most innovative games for the system, and it's well worth a get. There's also a sequel. I don't know if it came out it didn't come out in Europe, I believe, but there is a sequel to this game as well, which is also worth looking into. I haven't got it. Anyway, this is one of the best games on the series, but if you're playing it now, you probably want to play it not on the handheld because the batteries drain quite quickly, and this game is not a short game. Then we've got... So this is Axe Battle, A Legend of Golden Axe. So this is like an RPG and Golden Axe kind of combined. So you've got these side-scrolling levels which are similar to like Golden Axe, but you've got an overworld map similar to more like a Zelda. So it's a cross between a Zelda and a Golden Axe. There's also another one called a similar game on the Master System, which is got similar aspects, but it's not the same game. Then we've got Ninja Gaiden. So this is similar again. So this is like the Master System version rather than the NES version, I believe. So this is also, I mean, then some of the Ninja Gaiden games are some of the hardest games there are. I can't remember playing this one specifically. I remember playing the newer Ninja Gaiden games, like what was it, Ninja Gaiden, like when they was Sigma 1, 2, 3, that kind of style of Ninja Gaiden game. This is more like a 2D kind of one, which is still, I still believe they're playable, but they're quite hard. Right, then we got Spider-Man for the Game Gear. So that's Spider-Man for the Game Gear. I say I do like Spider-Man. He's one of my favourite superheroes. I think he might be. I would say he's one of my favourite superheroes. So that's Spider-Man on the Game Gear. And we've got Castle of Illusion. So this is, I believe, was one of my first games I got. So that's what it cost back in the day. So that's so this is again similar to the Master System version, but just slightly reduced for the Game Gear for the size of the screen. I mean, say you could play Master System games on the Game Gear if you had the converter, but I haven't got it. But say you could play them. They're very similar. There's not much difference between the two. More Disney games. There was quite a lot of Disney licensed games at the time. So this is Donald Duck, Lucky Dime Caper. I would say they're quite good. I would say some of them are at the easier end of the spectrum, but I think they're a lot harder than what the games are now. If you looked at a Disney game now, it would be way below average difficulty setting. I thought these were harder than some of the Disney licensed stuff. I mean, we say we're one of my bigger spenders. So this is Mortal Kombat, the Game Gear Mortal Kombat. I remember buying this back in the day from, like, I got it from Woolworths, so that's a UK-based store. It's still got the tag on the back, so that's what I paid for it, $34.99. I think that was my most expensive Game Gear game back in the day. I remember you have to input the cheat to activate the blood, and that. So I remember playing this back in the day. That was the original version of Mortal Kombat I played at the time, anyway. There we go. Wonder Boy. So that's the basic Wonder Boy converted to the Game Gear. Still okay, still plays well. Not much to say. And we've got Chuck Rock. So I remember, the first version of Chuck Rock I played was the Amiga version, which was probably the original version of it. To say, I don't think I've played this port, but I'm pretty sure the Amiga version is going to be better. I think the sound and the music on this one is going to be a lot worse. There we go, on to Sonic games now. So this is Sonic the Hedgehog, the original one. So that this version of Sonic is the same as the Master System one. Again, the Mega Drive had a completely different game, and we're going to see those later in the video. Also, say my dog's still with me. She's on my lap at the moment. We'll show her now. So, can you see? No, she doesn't want to be making fears. She'll be here for the rest of the video though. We've got Sonic 2, which is the sequel. So that was the game to introduce Tails. So back in the day, so there was a big deal about this. So this was aim was to get a simultaneous worldwide release on a day, and they called it Sonic Tuesday. And some shops, I believe, broke the date, so their marketing went. Anyway, it's the first game in the series to feature Tails. Anyway, so yeah. And then you've got Sonic Chaos, which is also got Tails in it. I said that one is similar to the thing. There's also Sonic Blast and some other ones, which I don't have. They're on the very expensive side. These ones are relatively cheap. And we've got the last Game Gear game. So we've got Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. So that's the sequel to Mickey Mouse. Castle of Illusion. Yeah, so that's it's a Disney game. It's not much to say about it. Yeah. So we're going to move on to I'll start with the Mega Drive games now. Let's say Mega Drive I didn't have back in the day. I got mine at a car boot a lot later date. So I got my Mega Drive quite a long time ago at the car boot. I've got a Mega Drive 1, coincidentally, as opposed to the second model. So I got a Mega Drive 1 at the car boot. I paid roughly, I think it was £3 for it. It was boxed at the time. It was like a bargain. It's fine. It's still with me now. Anyway, let's get to the Mega Drive games. I'll start with the first pile and see what we've got. So this is Castlevania, the new generation. So this is my second best Castlevania game I've got in a charity shop. The best one being Symphony of the Night on the PS1. This cost me a mere £3. It works perfectly fine. The box is in good condition. Technically, there's slight marks on the top of the box where it looks like it's been taped. But other than that, it works fine. Anyway, it's more in the old school Castlevania kind of game. It's more like a platform game more than the more recent Metroidvania games. I also say these games are quite hard to play. This one's quite expensive now. It's not as much as Symphony of the Night, but it's still quite expensive. Right, so now we go to more platform games. So we've got Sonic 2. This is the Mega Drive version of Sonic 2. And as I say, I played it after the Game Gear version. And as I say, they've both got their merits. They both seem fun. The music's are really good and iconic. And there's Sonic 2, the Mega Drive version. I'm missing Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. But I'll look out for them. Then we go. Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is the original Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's the first one. It's iconic. It's like enough said. Sonic. I mean, it's still relatively cheap now. The first like 2 games are. The third one plus are reasonably expensive. Okay, so now we've got Micro Machines. So this Micro Machines 96. So this is one of the later ones. It's also got a J cart in, which has got. I'll open it in a minute. So it basically has a cartridge, and there's a port in it which enables you to connect an additional controller, because the Mega Drive in the day only had 2 ports. So this enables you to play with additional players. Anyway, I'll just open it up. Yeah, so there you go. So they're called a J cart. I think they're unique to Micro Machines. I don't think there are any other games in it. So this enables you to basically you to play with 4 players. There's an additional effectively an additional 2 cartridge ports. So it's effectively a multi-tap for the Mega Drive, and that's Micro Machines 96. Now we've got more Disney games. So this is Quackshot with Donald Duck. I don't remember playing this one. I remember playing Castle of Illusion. It's got a Gamesville tag on it. I think I remember that shop again. But it's like, that's Quackshot. We got Fantasia, the Disney film. I don't remember. I didn't enjoy Fantasia the film when it came out. I remember watching it at school. I think they made us watch it. I think the classical music wasn't really to my taste. I was saying Mickey Mouse, I don't mind. The classical music, I'm not so keen on. I've got Castle of Illusion. Yes, the box art is the same as the Game Gear version or the Master System version. I think I may even have the Master System version. I'll show that to you in a bit. But the game's completely different. It still plays really well. I think it's one of the better games with Mickey Mouse's name attached to it anyway. We've got compilation packs. So this is Mega Games 2. So this is basically a 3-in-1 game pack. So it's got Revenge of Shinobi, which is the sequel to Shinobi. It's got Streets of Rage, that's the original Streets of Rage, and the original Golden Axe. All of these games still play really well, but there you can say you can get them. So even these versions aren't very expensive. It's just a compilation, and the original games are more expensive. So that's Mega Games 2. They did quite a few volumes of this, but I'll show you the next one. So this is the original Mega Games. Mega Games 1, it's got 3 games on it: Super Hang-On, Columns, and an Italia 90 World Cup. I don't think the games on this one are as good as the other one. I mean, Columns is a classic. I mean, Hang-On's okay. Then the football game is past it, I would think. Yeah, that's Mega Games 1. And we've got Capcom games. So this is Mercs. This is the original version of Mercs. Let's see, it looks like it might be a rental copy, so I think it would be rented with a machine or something. It's got a rental tag on it. Anyway, this is Merc, so it's like a top-down run and gun. It's also built by Capcom, so Capcom games are above average in terms of difficulty. I think it's got an additional content for the Mega Drive. I think it's got an exclusive, some mission mode or a range mode of some description. I haven't played it for a while. Right, so more Mega Drive games. So we're going. Got a Fatal Fury. So that's the original game in the Fatal Fury series. It's a scrolling. Sorry, it's not scrolling. It's a one-on-one fighter. It said these games originally came out on the Neo Geo, so the versions that came out obviously on the Mega Drive and at the time SNES would probably be drastically cut because the amount, the difference between the amount of RAM and various processor on those two machines. The original version on the Neo Geo has the sprites are a lot larger. These two versions, say the Mega Drive and the SNES version, had to use scaling to get a similar effect. So they have to zoom in and the other one isn't to that effect, so they don't play as well. I've played both of them. Alright, so now we go on to the Blue Box series of games. A lot of people like to collect the Blue Box series of games, and I'm no different. So this is Phantasy Star 4. So this is one of the best games in the Phantasy Star universe. It's one of the I believe it was the last one released on the Mega Drive, and this was relatively expensive when it came out. I think it was over 50 from what I remember. I mean, said this version is in one of the is still this game is really expensive. This game is probably 150. My conditions mint, other than the fact you've got the mark with the tag. So the Mega Drive games also used to always to display in the shops. They used to have these like hang tags on it, and some people don't like them, and some they seem to come off very easy, and some people just take the tabs off. So this is the condition mine came in. It's still in good condition. I'm still happy to have it. It's a good game. It's also available on the Mega Drive collection if you also want to play it that way, which is available on available on more modern systems. It's available on the PS4 and that PS4 and Xbox, and it also was released on like 360 and PS3, I believe, as well. Right, more Blue Box games. So Echo Tides of Time. I believe that's the second game in the Echo series. And there was also a Echo Junior that also came out on the Mega Drive, but that's the only one I've got. I've played the other ones on the Mega Drive collection, I believe, so that's Echo Tides of Time. You've got more Mickey Mouse games, Mickey Mania. I do not remember playing this one, but it's also in the Blue Box series. And as I say, the rarest game in the Blue Box series is probably the World Championship, the soccer game, which is there are very few copies out there in the world. The game that's you can get a regular copy, the one that's not in the Blue Box series, and that's cheaper. The one in the Blue Box series is very expensive, one of the most expensive Mega Drive games there is. And then we've got Comic Zone. So this is a fun little one. It's like a scrolling fighter, but it's set in like a comic book thing. So you've got like your comic book panels. So you basically have you can choose your routes during the game. There are various in-game events where you can choose to go which way, and you pick up items. And that's Comic Zone. That's a fun little game, and it's a scrolling fighter which they don't make much of nowadays. Right, and then we go more treasure games. Needless to say, I've got a lot of treasure games, and they say they're above average on terms of cost and value. So this is Dynamite Heady. So this is more like it's a kind of a action platform where I describe it as. So it's an action platformer, and it's like most treasure games are shooters. That this is a bit more action. It's more like a Gunstar Heroes as well. They also did Gunstar Heroes, so it's a bit like Gunstar Heroes. Oh, my dog just heard someone, so she's off. I think my brother might have arrived. Yeah, my dog's just left. Okay, so we've got Virtua Racing, which is like the thing. So this originally came out. So I believe this came out on the 32X. I don't have a 32X, which is the Mega Drive expansion. There's also the Mega CD as well, which I don't have either. So the 32X was like an expansion that came out for the Mega Drive, and it was a stopgap between the Mega Drive and there's the next one up, the Saturn. So it was like it plugged into the cartridge port, and it was a bit like an expansion, so it gave you a bit more processing oomph. Anyway, this is the bog standard Mega Drive version, which was released as a normal cart. I don't feel this is the best way to play this virtual racing game. You probably want the 32X version. Then we go on to Earthworm Jim. So this is by the first game in the series. There's also Earthworm Jim. It knows it's now got a 24 meg tag on the box. So this was one of the larger Mega Drive games. I can't remember what the regular cart size was, but this is above average Mega Drive game. It's a fun cartoon style platformer. It's by Shiny Entertainment and like Dave Perry, if you know him. Technically there's two Dave Perrys. There's one's the American one, and there's another one. It's also like there's two Steve Jacksons, but that's by this is Earthworm Jim. Then we've got X-Men 2, The Clone Wars. I think this is on the more expensive side. I paid whatever the tag is on it. I paid £1 something for it many moons ago. I haven't played it. I do like X-Men though, and that's X-Men 2. So now we're done with the Mega Drive games. Oh no, I've got more. It says this one might be I'm seeing if this will be as quick, but I think this will probably be about the same length as my other one. I aimed for an hour and a half. Anyway, let's see. So we'll start with the shooters. So these are the shmups, as I like to call. So this is Thunder Force 3. So this is one of the games in the Thunder Force series. So this is technically this is a European. No, actually, it looks like an NTSC one. So it's got a Genesis tag on it. I found it at the car boot. Supposedly there's a European version of this, but it's really rare and it's very hard to tell if you've got a European copy unless it's got a foreign language manual in it. But I can't find it. Anyway, this is Thunder Force 3. I found this at the car boot a long time ago. It was one of my best car boot games. I wasn't expecting to find that. I don't find many people that play these kind of style of game at the car boot. Anyway, that's Thunder Force 3. I don't think it's as good as Thunder Force 4 yes, but that's Thunder Force 3. We've got more shooters. Twin Hawk. This is it looks more like a 1944 kind of style game, but like without that property. I still think this is reasonably expensive. I think this is around 70 or so. And we've got the classic one, Hellfire. All your bases belong to us. That's from Hellfire. That's Hellfire. And then we've got Thunder Force 4. Possibly the best game in the series. I like all of the Thunder Force games. I think a lot of people did. They did Thunder Force. I think they continued to about Thunder Force 6, which was, I believe, on the PS2. That's Thunder Force. Here we've got Gynog. That's Gynog. Let's see, Ranger X. That's another shoot-em-up. There's lots of them in the series. We have to go through them. I got that one at a more specialist thing. People selling it. I think it's worth a lot more than what I paid for it. And then I've got Xenon 2 Mega Blast. So Xenon 2 was one of the first games shooters I remember playing on what I started on was when I was playing on the Amiga, so that was in the time, so I basically started on a computer and moved over to the consoles later. So this is Xenon 2. I haven't played this version of the game. I need to say it's a really good game. It's got a really nice, I love the system of power-ups because there's a shopkeeper which you go to and he makes a weird kind of noise back in the day, and then you pick a style of power-up you want. The graphics are really good for the time. The soundtrack is really good. It's got Bomb the Bass is one of the people on it. So he did a thing as say I've listened to the music independently. Bomb the Bass is really good. There's songs called Mega Blast. It was also sampled on various different hip hop records. That's Zen 2. And the last shmup is Galaxy Force 3. Nothing to say about that one really. I don't think I've played it. It looks fairly generic. It looks more like a Space Harrier kind of shooter rather than a more traditional shmup. Yeah, it's more like a Space Harrier kind of clone. Okay, so now we go on to... Oh, there's still more Mega Drive games. I've got more... I don't know how many Mega Drive games I've got. I thought I had like 30 something. Anyway, so this is the Action Replay. So this is not really a game. It's more like a peripheral. It enables you to basically play multi-region games on any region console. It also functions a bit like a cheat device in which you can input codes into it and you can get various functions. And we got... This is the more miscellaneous ones. So we've got Wrestle War. So I like my wrestling games. I don't remember playing this one. I don't think it's going to be as good as some of the other wrestling ones. So many people tell me in the comments if this game's worth playing. I don't think I've played it. I've played most of the other ones. That's Wrestle War. Then we've got so this is technically the Mega Drive Classic range. So this must have sold. I don't know if the quantity of copies they had to sell on this, but is it like the PlayStation Platinum equivalent, or something around those, or this is Rolo to the Rescue, so it looks like a cartoon platform game. It had an elephant on it. I mean, I like elephants, so I pick it up. I mean, that's probably enough for me to pick the game up. There are not many other video games restoring elephants. Some is CJ's Elephant Antics, I believe, is another one. I'm not sure I've got that game either. Right, I've got Turbo Outrun, so it's needless to say it's one of the sequels to Outrunners. I don't remember if this was the more valuable one. I believe there's a 3D Outrun as well. So this is Turbo Outrun. So one of my favourite racing games of all time is Outrun. So it's the more recent one though. It's Outrun, the 2006 Coast to Coast. Looks like it was more. So this is Incredible Hulk. I think I got it in the same time I got X-Men. It looks like the tag on the box is the same place. So that's Incredible Hulk. I've not played this one. There's some other games instead. I mean, Hulk has got a fair few games. There's the Tour of Destruction, or believe whatever it was on the like 360 Wii kind of era. And we've got Grand Slam Tennis. So this is a very generic tennis game. I don't think I've played it. It's not as good as some of the other tennis games, or like I pause. They've got Ultra Beast. So back in the days, one in Europe, this was one of the main packing games. It's fairly generic. It's like a scrolling. It's like a scrolling game. It basically plays like a sort of like a fighting game, other than the fact that when you pick up so many power-up capsules, you transform into a different form depending on what level you're on. So you can become a wolf on the first level and then you go into like a dragon and that. I think it's fairly generic. It's not an amazing game. I mean, some people might have better memories with it than me. I played it, but it was probably later than when it came out. I mean, it's one of the first packing games to come with the machine. Later game versions switched this out for, say, more like games that I think would sell, like Sonic. Then we've got Flashback. So this is the sequel to Another World, and it's a cinematic game. So I remember playing this. So I played this one on the SNES originally back in the days, and this is like the Mega Drive version. So I remember on the first version of the game was like Another World, and I remember that came on. I played that back on the Amiga, and I remember getting stuck on it, and the game had crashed at the end of the first level, and I remember taking Another World back. And I had to play it in the shop with a joystick that wasn't mine, and I had to get it. Anyway, this is the sequel. This is called Flashback, and there's another Flashback. There's a more modern Flashback game that came out on the PlayStation, but it's more like a 3D kind of thing, whereas this is still in the 2D. And we've got Dragon's Fury. So this is a good pinball game. It's by Tengen. So this is like this thing. So I do like my video game pinball adaptations. So this one is another good one. There's also stuff like Kirby's Pinball that came out on like the game. It came out on the Game Boy, and there's some other ones like Devil's Crush. This may even be the same game as Devil's Crush. I can't remember because they changed the names. I think this is the same game as Devil's Crush, to be honest. Anyway, that's Dragon's Fury. That's a good pinball game. And we've got Road Rash 2. That was a fun game. It's by EA. EA did do some good games. I'm sorry, I'm not sure they do very many anymore. But so this is a Road Rash. So this is a fun motorcycle-based game where you have combat. You can attack people. You can also upgrade your things in between levels. So that's Road Rash. Micro Machines. So that's the original Micro Machines. And you see, I noticed it's got a Mega game. So that was based a UK-based magazine that's called Mean Machines back in the days that also reviewed the thing. So that means it got over 90%, I believe. So that's the Micro Machines, the original. So these games still play really well. And in the thing, the more recent games have kind of switched the perspective or don't have the Micro Machines license. So I believe the recent one was more like Tiny Box Turbo or something on more recent machines, and say this is the original Micro Machines. Ghouls and Ghosts, the original I'm still trying to get. So this is Ghouls and Ghosts, which is a sequel to Ghosts and Goblins. I'm still trying to get the PC Engine version to try and finish my PC Engine super graphics set. But this is Ghouls and Ghosts. So these are really difficult games, and I can't finish them. And say they're really hard. And then we've got Toe Jam and Earl games. So there's a more recent Toe Jam and Earl 3 that came out recently. So this is the first one. So this is Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron. So it's Toe Jam and Earl. I believe that's the first one. I think the first one I showed you was the sequel. That's Toe Jam and Earl. And then I've got Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck. So that's the sequel to Chuck Rock. So now you're no longer playing as Chuck himself. Oh, these games have got a dinosaur theme as well. So they're similar to something like the PC Kid thing, or Bonk as it calls. So it's a bit similar to those kind of games. I haven't played this one, but like I'll play it at some point. It's like the sequel, and you play as the kid of Chuck. Right, I'll do I'll do Mega CD next. I haven't got a Mega CD. I had a Mega CD for a very brief period. I took it back because it didn't work. I kind of regret it now because I think the games that came with it, I know it had Sonic CD, are worth less than I paid for it anyway, but it didn't work, so I took it back. Anyway, I'll try and get one at some point. Anyway, we'll do the Mega CD games. I don't have very many, so we'll go through them. There's Shining Force CDs, so that was quite expensive. This is the sequel to Shining Force 1 and 2, which I played on the Mega Drive back in the day, or played on the Xbox compilation version anyway. So this is a continuation of those games. It's also got an exclusive scenario on it, which is unique to this disc, and it also has basically the only English version of the Game Gear game, Sword of Hylia, I think it's called, and is the only way to play that game in English. So it's got that scenario with some additional content. So this is probably the best version you can get of that. Anyway, that's Shining Force CD, and then we've got Night Trap. So this was one of the original style of games. So this is like an FME game, which is like, this was one of the games that, along with stuff like Mortal Kombat, that was accused of being a video nasty, but it's fairly tame nowadays. There's a house and there are various people that get shocked and various things. And so this is also available. There's like a 32X version, which you need a 32X and a Sega CD. And the video quality on this, I would assume, is very not high at all, because it's pre 480p anyway. It's probably like 240p or something. Anyway, so this is Night Trap. It's if you're into FMV games, check it out. You may want to watch the video separately though, because I don't think the game is very good. And then we've got a double pack. So it probably came as a pack in. So that's Soulfees and Cobra Command. So this is like a packing game. They're kind of easy to find now. They're not very expensive. It's like yes. So that's Soulfeast and Cobra Command. I think coincidentally, I'm not sure what the CD speed on the Mega CD is. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments. I know the Neo Geo one, that weren't very high, so I don't imagine it's over a single speed. So this is Road Avengers. So this is like another FMV style of game. There are quite a lot of other ones on this. They're like Time Girl, I believe it is, or Space Ace, all that kind of thing. So this is like there's not much game, I don't think. I haven't played it anyway. Let me know if it's any good. Right, so now we'll move on to I'll do Master System next. So Master System, I've got both models. I've got two of the models of Master System. I've got both a Master System 1 and a Master System 2. I believe one has Alex Kidd as a pack-in, and the other one has Sonic with it. Anyway, so I've got a couple of loose carts, so I'll start with the loose carts. I've got Tasmania, which is the another Disney kind of style game. It's like a platformer. There's nothing much to it. It's Tasmania. Dead Angle. I don't remember what kind of game that is. I imagine it's more like a run and gun kind of thing. I go Sonic, the Hedgehog, the original one. Will be the same as the Game Gear game, or very similar. Right, now we go through it. So we got the box one. So we move on to Afterburner, a massive 4 meg cartridge. It's Afterburner on the Master System. I don't know how good a conversion it is. Probably not as good as the Mega Drive version. So Afterburner. Then we've got a slightly more interesting game. We've got Mick and Mac Global Gladiators. I'm not sure if I remember if this is by Treasure or not. I think one of the McDonald games is by Treasure. Anyway, this is Mick and Mac Global Gladiator, so it's like a kind of action-y style platformer, which is licensed by McDonald's, and it might be one of the more. I'm assuming this might be one of the more better licensed games by them. Yeah. And then we've got World Grand Prix, similar in style to. It's like, yeah, it's not amazing. And then we've got Shadows of the Beast. So I remember playing these more on the Amiga back in the day. So these were basically the graphics on these games looked absolutely amazing on the Amiga, but it was like I'm not sure it would translate more down to the 8-bit style of console. But this is Shadow of the Beast. I believe they said there were like 3 games in the series. This is being the first one. And we've got Wolfchild. So I think this is similar in style to, say, Castlevania, or at least the old school style of Castlevania games, with more like a non-Metroidvania kind of thing. So that's Wolfchild. Then we've got Echo the Dolphin, so that's the original game. As say, I have the other one on the Mega Drive. That's Echo the Dolphin. Got puzzle game, so it's Clax, so that was sort of a Tenjin game where you line up the columns and stuff in a various different order. It's like columns from a different perspective. That's Clax. Wanted. So in theory, I should have kept this one because I believe this is a light gun game, because I'm going to do a light gun game video. So this is Wanted. I should have put it in the other video. I'll probably put it in both. Anyway, I don't know how good it is. I haven't played it. I do actually have the light gun peripheral for the Master System as well, so I'll try it at some point. And we've got Choplifter. It's a helicopter flying game. Nothing special. Master of Darkness. I think this is on the more expensive side. This is like another kind of like Castlevania kind of style of game. I think I'll probably play this one at some point. I haven't got around to playing it. It's Master of Darkness. Then we've got Battle Outrun. Obviously, this is another Outrun style of game. I think the Outrun game is just... I can't remember if this is meant to be one of the better ones. I know there's also a 3D one as well, which is meant to be expensive. Let's say I haven't got the 3D glasses for the Master System. It was an early style of 3D kind of thing. I don't imagine they'll be played very well nowadays, but it's Battle Outrun. Then I have Streets of Rage. And you say I have quite a few versions of Streets of Rage. I've got this on the Mega Drive as well, so this is the Master System version. Probably plays okay, not as good as the Mega Drive one. They've got Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. I think this is on the rarer side, so this is a crossover game. It's basically a cross between Alex Kidd and Shinobi, which I like. I like both of those kind of games. I mean, Shinobi I remember playing in the arcade back in the days. So that's Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. We're nearly there. We've nearly done all the Master System. And then we'll move on to the Saturn to finish. We've got Fantasy Zone, the Mega cartridge. So this is a shooter. It's like a side-scrolling shooter. It's sort of like in a cartoon style. It's probably on the easier side of the spectrum. We've got another kind of platforming game. So this is Cheese Catastrophe. So it's a Looney Tunes game with Speedy Gonzales, Arriba on it, and Pepe Le Pew. So this is on the more expensive side. I think this game is around the 70 as well. So this game, I don't think I have the manual for it, but other than that, it's in the box. Right, so we've got Saturn games now. So I'm going to start on my Saturn games. So I've had 2 Saturns over a lifespan. So my original Saturn broke. Bear in mind, I didn't get them on release. I got a Saturn. It came with a load of games. Then I got a second Saturn because the first one, I think the disc drive went. So I got a second set. And they came with some more games, and I've also got some games separately. Only say the second one, the person selling it at the time had a copy of the Panzer Dragoon Saga with it. And at the time, I didn't want to pay what he wanted for it. And I was like, I paid that kind of price for the machine, which was, I think, was 50. So I didn't get it. Unfortunately, now it's around £1,000, so I would kind of regret it. Anyway, let's move on to the Saturn games. I need to say the Saturn is more regarded for its import games than say the Japanese games, but I haven't got a Japanese machine. I've only got a European one. I'll keep my eyes for a Japanese one or a modded one at some point. Anyway, so let's start with the Saturn games. I've got Golf, nothing special. I think it cost me 50p like it is on the tag. Not very good. We've got Doom. So that's Doom on the Saturn version of Doom. I think it's just like the PlayStation one. It might be like Final Doom, which is like the full chapter of the game. So I remember playing Doom. I started playing Doom on a PC. It was probably like it's between a 286 and a 386 kind of style of PC, so Pentium. So I remember you had to use a boot disk through it to clean the memory on it. There wasn't much memory on the main machine. Alright, so now we've got more like a peripheral. So we've got the Sega Saturn photo CD. So this is rare or hard to find. It's not particularly useful. It's not a game, but if you're going for a complete set of everything, it's one of the harder items to find. I remember finding this in the charity shop. I didn't pay much for it. I mean, it's like not very useful, but it's rare. And I've got Tempest 2000. The light's playing up. So I've got Tempest 2000. So this is the shooter, so it's based on the original Tempest. To say other than this is relatively expensive. This is around 70 something. The box isn't immaculate condition. There's a rip on the back, but it's Tempest. It's fun and it's got like a psychedelic kind of shooter. It's more like an on rails kind of shooter. But there's more recent versions like Tempest or like 2K, which is like a cross between Tempest and also got Jeff Minter on it that did things like various more psychedelic things like Lamatron and stuff back in the day. That's Tempest 2000. Then we've got another golf game, so we've got Pebble Beach Links. So this is another fairly generic golf game. I don't think there's much of it. It's not one I would play. I would play one of the Mario ones or Hot Shots Golf. Then we've got Black Hawk Down. So this is more like a helicopter kind of flying game. I don't remember playing it. I'm saying more. I prefer the less realistic, the flight sims. I don't know if this one's more arcadey or not. Then we've got Athlete Kings. So this is it's like a modern day track and field for the Saturn. It's like a way to break your joypad in the day. I'm not very good at these games. I don't have the coordination or the ability to press the buttons or that thing. But it's still good. I think the music's quite fun as well. Then we've got fighting games we move on to. So we've got Fighters Mega Mix. So this is like it's kind of like a crossover game. So it's got characters from like Virtua Fighter, and then there's stuff like the Hornet from Daytona, and various other games. So this is and it's also on the slightly more expensive side. I would say it's good fun. It's not as serious as some of the other games. Then we've got Nights into Dreams. So this is the original version of Nights. There was also there was a 3D controller released for this, as the Saturn pad was more like not designed for 3D games. I haven't played it very well because I haven't got the Saturn 3D controller, and I've been waiting for that to play it to be fully appreciated. I've got there's also the more recent Nights, which was available on the Wii as well, which probably plays better on this without the 3D pad. Then we've got my oldest FIFA game. It's FIFA 97, the Saturn version, so that's like one of the older FIFA games. Then we got Resi. That's the original Resident Evil on the Saturn. I don't know if it plays on this better than this in the PlayStation, but my main complaint in the day were the tank controls. Didn't like tank controls. I'll try and play. Played it on more recent ones where the controls are better. It's Crusader No Regrets. I think that's like an early kind of RTS kind of style of game. I don't remember having played it. The box is above average in size. Then we've got Space Hulk. So this is another Games Workshop game set in the Warhammer kind of universe. It's like a more... I think it's more like a kind of Doom kind of style of game with more like in real time, I believe. So you go through the... Or Eye of the Beholder. It looks a bit like Eye of the Beholder with this in a space kind of thing. I mean, I like Space Hulk. The board game is like so it's a fairly good game, and it's like Games Workshop now more on the the Warhammer games are even the Warhammer's coming to Magic and Magic universe in a current set coming up anyway. So like I like Warhammer. I like Games Workshop stuff and Magic. And then there's Loaded. So this is like Gauntlet basically in a kind of different setting. It's more like it's more violent than Gauntlet. Gauntlet was in fantasy. This is more like a more modern kind of setting. So that's Gauntlet loaded. Sorry. Then you've got a Daytona. So this is the original version of Sega Rally. Sorry. Sega Rally, so this is the arcade version pretty much, other than it's got a thing. I think there's also a later version of this that added a bit more content. So that's Daytona USA, the first version. There's the second version, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's like Daytona, the original. Ooh, knocked it down. A mess. So that's Daytona USA CE. So if that's better than the original Daytona. So that's got a bit more content. I can't remember what the additional content is. Then that's Virtua Fighter 2. So that's the original Virtua Fighter 2. That was I think the original Virtua Fighter game I played. I don't remember playing the original. That's Virtua Fighter 2. And we've got Bug. So that's like another. It's like a side scroll. It's like a 2D kind of platformer kind of thing. There's also a sequel, Bug 2, and I feel that's more expensive. Bug. Sonic Jam. So this is a compilation. This is basically Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles ported to the Saturn with a overworld that has some activities you can do in it, and it's one of the. It's like you can play either of them with the Knuckles, which is basically like the lock-on cart. So Sonic and Knuckles, when it was released on the Mega Drive, there was you basically could plug in any of the 3 original Sonic games, and they got additional content. And in Sonic 3, I think it added a lot of extra stuff to it. Whereas Sonic 1 and 2, you could play it as other characters that weren't originally in those games. Anyway, that's Sonic Jam. That's one of the better Sonic compilations. You can get other ones, but that one's on Saturn. And we say they're going to need to say the last game I've got is Baku Baku. So this is like a puzzle game. So you basically it's the original. You basically line up various shapes, and basically it's kind of like columns or Tetris. It's got a bit more theme to it. I think it's actually reasonably expensive as well. So that's Baku Baku. Anyway, then you say I've gone on for about an hour now, so it's time to close out the videos. Is to say we'll carry on doing these videos. I'm going to do another one at a later date. I'll try and do maybe one video a month, we'll say. So I'm going to try and do one a month. So my next videos I'm going to do a Sony video. So I'm going to feature most of my PlayStation stuff, which I can probably do in another sitting. And I'll do another one on Nintendo, and then I'll see where it goes on the video game front. Anyway, I also try and do some streaming or show some gameplay at some point, but I haven't got around to working out all the intricacies of it. Anyway, thanks very much. Thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.